All right, guys, welcome to the very first episode of On the Line with Cursed Bank Catfishing. And in proper fashion, this episode comes directly from you guys, the guys and gals that are out there watching me. I posted a video across all my social media platforms a few days ago, asking for some questions, comments, funny quirks, whatever you wanted to put. It didn't matter. I was going to address them in this episode. Now, in that same time, I've gotten a lot of people ask, well, what about guests and things like that? And that's coming. Just, you gotta give me time. This is the first episode. We will have guests on here, and I thoroughly look forward to that. This type of content is going to be published on my YouTube channel. I'm not creating a separate YouTube channel just for this. In addition to that, you'll also find it pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts. That'll only be the audio format though. So just be aware, depending on what you want, you've got options. You can find us on Spotify, or you can actually find us just here on YouTube and put me on play in the background. So now with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into our first episode straight from the viewers. Let's get into some of the comments that I got from some of y'all who sit out there and watch, listen, and observe. And for those of you who take the time to listen to me, whether it's here, TikTok, YouTube, wherever you may be listening from, just know that I appreciate you, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day just to hang out with me. Ironically, one of the first comments that I got was on Facebook, and it was from a family member. James Cooper says, I need on this show. So for a little bit of context for you, James is actually my uncle. And so he's a West Virginia resident, and he actually fancies himself a little bit of a farmer. More importantly, he fancies himself a little bit of a farmer in my backyard, where he raises hundreds, and I say this again, hundreds of chickens. I don't have a big backyard either. Anyway, the funny part about it is that even though he fancies himself a farmer, he's not the best at it, because every time he tries to round these chickens up, I end up finding him running around with one of my landing nets trying to catch the chickens because he won't grab them. Because when he does grab them, he ends up looking, something like this. So, with that being said, James, even though I know you'll never listen to this episode, I'll know it exists, and I'll be sure to show you the next time I see you around. But you're more than welcome to jump on the episode if you'd like. One of the next comments I got came from my buddy Matt Carter, aka Just Dragon. And he says, I need in on this, and who is your favorite tournament partner? That's easy. It's Tim Smith. I'm just playing. Here's the thing. You can't say favorite tournament partner, because I fish with all kinds of people. Now, Matt is hands down one of my A1 since day one. A little bit of context for anyone who's listening that doesn't know Matt or doesn't know how we met. Me and Matt met on TikTok. It's either 3 or 4 years ago now. I can't remember. But me and him have been running the Lake Norman tournament series together ever since. We fished the Ice Bowl together, and I do fish a lot of tournaments with Matt. When it comes to boat tournaments, that is. When it comes to the bank tournaments, my buddies Aaron and Tim and Kirk and all these guys that I see on the regular, here's the thing. I can't say I have a dedicated favorite fishing partner. I just have a lot of people that I love to fish with. And if you're one of those people, more than likely you know it, because you can reach out to me anytime. So, Matt, you are one of my favorite tournament partners, and I love you to death, buddy. And then Matt followed up with a secondary question. How to catch mooneye. Alright, so for those of you who don't know, one, that's a West Virginia trade secret, and I ain't going to tell you nothing. If you don't know, well, you don't know, and there's nothing I can do. If I was to ever break my code of silence, the Catfish Cartel here in West Virginia would have me sunk to the bottom of the Canal River. I say that jokingly, but there's a little bit of seriousness behind it as well. There are ways that I can tell you to catch mooneye. Easy one is go to your local lock and dam. I'd say cast into the current. You should find them that way. But if you aren't aware, so mooneye are one of like the go-to baits here on the Canal River, and most of the locals know how to catch them. And if you know, you know, and if you don't, well, you don't. I was blessed enough several years ago. A buddy of mine named Cody Taylor actually showed me how to catch them the right way. And then another guy followed up with me on that I used to tournament fish, named Sean, and we would catch our bait 2-3 days before the tournament. This is all pretty common practice, but the reality of it is if you want to learn how to catch mooneye, And if moon eye's even in your native body of water, the best way is to find out is to go to your local lock and dam, talk to the guys that are sitting there fishing. They'll more than likely be able to show you how they're catching the bait. And it may not even be moon eye, it might be golden eye, it may be owl eye. There's a couple different eyes out there that people use for catfish bait. Moon eye is just what we use here in the state of West Virginia on the canal. Another question that we got actually came from someone from my old professional life, and that was a gentleman named Doug Wisman. Doug was one of the primary contacts for what I used to do for a living when I was a full-time HVAC contractor. Well, first of all, Doug says, "Looking good there, Jesse. Tell us, where do you catch the most and largest fish?" Like, that's going to give you something. I'll tell you where I catch them, Doug. In the water. But no, here's the reality, though. I could tell you where I've pulled some of my biggest fish out of. I've told plenty of people. But it depends on where I'm fishing, what time of year I'm fishing, what's the pressure, what's been the weather conditions the past few days. Like, all of these things hold a variable that can change where I'm going to look to target my fish. Now, if you really want some statistics and hard numbers of how I try to target fish, we can go into that. And I'm sure there are plenty of other catfish anglers out here that do a different approach than I do. Every angler has something that you can learn from them. So, Doug, long story short, like I said, I could answer that question like in a generic way, just give you a generic location, but it wouldn't do you any justice. But just to make sure that you are happy, I catch them on the upper pool of the canal up past Marmet Dam. Now, speak of the devil, a good buddy of mine, Aaron Priest, also what I would consider one of the goats of catfishing, local legend to some degree. Even my buddy Troy Dow mentions him that way. He asks, "Who taught you everything you know about catfishing?" And now he does that as a joke because there's an inside joke between me and Aaron, and we're not going to address that on here, Aaron, so don't even think about it. But here's the reality. There was no one person that taught me everything. I have learned something from everyone, and a lot of stuff I had to figure out on my own. Especially when it comes to when I was fishing from the kayak, I would watch other kayak anglers. Prime example would be Justin with Kayak Catfish, or even Spencer Bauer from River Certified. They were kayak catfishing anglers, and I would listen to what they were saying, then I would come out and I would try to apply it here. But what I'm getting at with that is every person I've ever fished with, every person I've ever encountered that I've had these discussions with, I learned something from every single one of them. Every angler fishes a different body of water. Every angler fishes a different way. Some people like suspended. Some people like to pull boards. Some people like to anchor up. Some people backdrift. I mean, the list goes on. And of course, some people bump. Full disclosure. No, I have no background in that. I've never done it. Don't even know how to start. But I know a lot of people who do. But no, so I learned something from everyone that I've ever encountered. Now, truth be told, Aaron and Timmy have taught me a lot within the last 2 years. Aaron doesn't just catfish with me. We chase walleye and we chase bait. Me and Aaron spend a decent amount of time together. And during the bank tournament time, man, me and Timmy spend a decent amount of time together. And I love both them dudes to death, man. They're both top notch in my book. Moving on down the list, so from TikTok, Anna Banks, which is one of the OGs from my TikTok days when I first got started. Anna asks, "Here's a question I'd love to know your opinion. Do you prefer bank fishing over boat fishing? If so, why do you prefer that said way of fishing?" So there are pros and cons to both, right? There is something beautiful about the simplicity around bank fishing. Pull up to a spot, walk to a spot, drive to a spot, whatever you got to do. Bring 4 rods or however many rods you want to do, and simply cast out in a fan pattern in an attempt to catch the fish. Now, bank fishing can apply to riverbank on shore of a lake. It can even be applied to locks and dams because technically you are fishing from a bank. When it comes to boat fishing, there's a lot more complexities in it. I mean, does the boat have gas? Are the batteries charged? Do you have all of your gear on the boat? Could there be a mechanical malfunction? Could your trailer malfunction? Now, there are a lot of cons there, but the pros are much larger than with the bank. With the bank, you can find a good bank spot and God have mercy and hope that it doesn't get burned out if you post it on social media. The other part of it is you're kind of also playing a guessing game, and it's kind of luck to some degree. Don't get me wrong, you can find a spot, but it's still a little bit of luck at the end of the day. You're hoping that hungry fish are either in that spot you're casting or are near or around it and will travel to you. So it's a coin toss if that'll happen or not. Versus if you're in a boat, you can use your sonar, you can use your electronics, your live scope, your maps. You can plot out where you have marked fish, you can see fish, and you can actually run and hunt them down. And if you're fishing in unknown territory, well, then just hook up the planer boards and pull to your heart's content. You cover a lot of water, and then once you start to catch fish, you can actually mark them on your graph, and then you've got a spot to come back to. So that's a really cool thing about fishing from a boat or a kayak. If you're using electronics or any kind of sonar, or even just Google Maps, because I'll be blunt with you, before I had any kind of sonar with a map on it, I just used Google Maps, and I was dropping pins wherever I was catching fish. I knew that's where I needed to go back to. But as for if I have a particular preference or not, I like both, honestly. Bank catfishing's easy, simple. It's very relaxing. I've had some stressful days with the kayak or stressful days with the boat. Everything from engine malfunctions to leaving the battery at home. I mean, the list goes on and on. So I don't have a preference either way, but if I'm being honest with you, I do love being on the water versus sitting on the side of it. I feel more confident on the water versus sitting on the side of it. Another family member jumped into the conversation, Lily Stewart, otherwise known as Mama Cursed, my mom. She jumps on and says, "Where is your favorite place to fish?" Well, that's easy. It's in between the cursed banks. And for those of you who don't know, when I say that, I'm referring to that particular pool above Marmette. I call that place, that's where the name came from. It was the cursed banks. People say there are no fish in that pool, but myself and a few other locals have continuously pulled fish out of that pool, and not little fish. We're talking quality fish too. So the short answer to that is I love fishing in my home state on my home body of water, the Canal River. And it doesn't matter if I'm on the upper pool or if I'm closer to the Ohio. I love fishing the canal. It's my stomping ground, and it's home base, so I'm very familiar with it. Brent Hudson, very good friend of mine, he asked, "Why won't you fly a drone over me?" So a little bit of context for this. Brent and Aaron actually fished against me and Timmy this year on the bank trail. And our spots, I don't know the exact distance. They're a good distance away, but I have a drone that is capable of flying a very good distance. And during one of the aerial takes for one of the bank tournaments me and Timmy were fishing, I actually flew my drone up to Aaron and Brent. And Brent told me that if he saw my drone, he was going to shoot it down. And so as I flew over Brent, I started to lower it so I could get a better shot of Brent and his rods and, try to use it for B-roll. Brent pulled out his pistol and aimed it at my drone. That's a very expensive piece of camera equipment, and I would really appreciate it if you didn't shoot it down, Brent. So after that, I have never flown a drone near Brent again. Even though I don't think he'd really do it, it's still funny to be over dramatic just for comedic entertainment purposes only. Here comes a good one. Kevin Dorsey, aka Big Country, runs a local used car lot here in the Upper Kanawha Valley. Good friend of mine and my brother's. Asks, "Am I a better fisherman than my brother?" So for those of you who don't know, he's referring to Bubby Cursed, or the guy you see in some of my videos, whether it's hunting, fishing. Bubby's normally the guy you'll see with me. If it's not him, it's typically my dad or my buddy Matt Carter or Tim. I mean, it varies. But so me and him have went around this topic 1,000 times, and it's always a fun one for me because here's the thing: Bubby's a better hunter than me. He is a better woodsman than me. He's better at identifying the trees and everything like that. I am not nearly as passionate about hunting as he is. I hunt to fill the freezer and as kind of like a social aspect to have something to do with him and my dad whenever hunting season rolls around. Because if you'll notice, when it comes to catfishing specifically, you never see my dad or my brother in any of my videos. They just don't like catfishing. That's okay. If you want to be one of those bass boat guys, you can go right ahead. No offense to bass fishermen, but he swears up and down other than catfish, he is 110% the better angler. Now, me and him were talking about this recently, and I told him, I said, well, let's put that to the test because we keep going back and forth. I told him, I said, well, this summer, let's do the Brothers Cursed tournament, 1v1, me versus you. We'll fish for multiple different species. We'll make different episodes out of each tournament. And then at the end of the season, we can chalk up the wins and see who really is the better angler, either you or me. And he said that he's all about it. Now, if his schedule permits it, that's yet to be determined, because he does have 2 little baby girls that are absolutely gorgeous, and they are his whole world. Unfortunately, between them and his son playing soccer, it takes up a lot of his time. So we'll see if he can actually commit to that tournament trail or not. Time will tell, but I still think I'm the better angler. Let me know in the comments who you think is better, me or Bubby Cursed. Very good friend of mine from my professional life, Ty Branham, aka known as Love to HVAC. He asked me, how many boats have you sank? So now this comes as a joke because Ty came to visit me and my brother this past summer. And unfortunately, when he was up here, my boat was not ready to be, well, used. And while I took him on a adventure through our capital, which has a bunch of historic landmarks and stuff like that in it, we went down to the river and just so happened to find a water hose coming up out of the water. We pulled on it, and we actually ended up pulling a bass boat up off of the bottom that someone had sunk, what I'm assuming happened sometime during live on the levee. And they tied it off in hopes of maybe someday retrieving it. But we pulled it up, and we made a couple videos of Ty sitting in it and making it seem like he crashed the boat. But no, Ty, to answer your question, I personally haven't sunk any yet. And if I do now, I'm gonna blame you for it. All right, so I think that is all of the questions. If I missed you on this first round, don't worry. There'll be another round, and I'll get you then. Guys, I want you guys to know, if you would please, whether you're listening to this on Spotify, watching it on YouTube, wherever you are, go ahead and hit the like button for me. Leave a comment. Tell me what you want me to talk about next. Tell me who you want me to interview next. I'd love to hear your feedback, and tell me if you like this kind of content or not, because I've had several people that have requested this type of content, and I just didn't ever really want to do it because I was afraid a lot of people would find it boring, just being honest. But guys and gals, I think that's going to do it for the very first episode of On the Line, straight from the viewers. Guys, I appreciate you. Stay bent, and we'll see you on the next one.